In this video, we're going to have a look at how to use Pythagoras theory to find the hypotenuse of a right-angled triangle. So by the end of the video, you will be able to calculate the length of a hypotenuse using Pythagoras theory. So before we have a look at the formula, we need to be able to label the sides of our triangle A, B, and C. So we're starting off here with a right-angled triangle, and our right-angled triangle, we've got our right angle down in the corner. And coming off that right angle, we have two sides. Now we call those two sides A and B. A and B are interchangeable. Doesn't matter which side you call A and which side you call B, as long as you've got an A and a B. Now the side that is opposite the right angle is going to be the hypotenuse side of the triangle, and we're going to label that side C. Now unlike A and B, the hypotenuse always has to be labeled C to be able to use Pythagoras theory. So A and B are interchangeable. C has to be the length of the hypotenuse. So now that we've labeled our sides, let's have a look at Pythagoras theory formula. And to find the hypotenuse, the formula is c squared equals a squared plus b squared. So that is the standard Pythagoras theorem formula and the formula that you will get on your formula sheet in the exam. So let's have a look at the steps required to calculate the length of our hypotenuse, the length of C, using this Pythagoras theorem formula. So the first step is to write the formula. So c squared equals a squared plus b squared. The second step is to substitute in the values from the question. So substituting in your a and b values from the question. The third step is to calculate the c value. So c squared is going to equal a value. The fourth step is to square root both sides. This is an important step and a step that is often left out by students. They get down to step 3 because they've got a number, they think that is the missing side, and they move on to the next question. Don't forget to square root both sides after you get your c squared value. So square root both sides, and the last step is to calculate and write the answer, making sure you include units of measurement in your answer. If there's no units given in the question, just write units. So let's have a look at how we can apply these 5 steps to calculate the hypotenuse of a right-angled triangle. So in our example, we have a right-angled triangle. We've got a side of 15, we've got a side of 8, and we want to calculate our missing hypotenuse. The first step is going to be to write the formula. So c squared equals a squared plus b squared. Next step is to substitute in the values from the question. And my a and b values are going to be 15 and 8. So c squared is equal to 8 squared plus 15 squared. To calculate my c squared value, so c squared is going to equal to 289. So you can put 8 squared plus 15 squared into your calculator to get that value. Once we have c squared is equal to 289, we need to square root both sides. So c is going to equal to the square root of 289. So the last step in our calculator is to calculate the answer. So c is going to equal to 17 centimeters. So let's have a look at another example. Here we've got a right angle triangle. We've got a side of 8. We've got a side of 5. And we want to calculate our x value. So the first step, write the formula. C squared equals a squared plus b squared. Then we want to substitute in the values from the question. So my a and b values are going to be 8 and 5. So x squared is going to equal 5 squared plus 8 squared. And I've substituted in x squared here for c, because that is the variable that's provided to us in the question. So x squared is going to equal to 89. So I need to square root both sides. So x is going to equal to the square root of 89. So x is equal to 9.4. And because I have no units of measurement, I just write units in my answer. So x is equal to 9.4 units. So having a look at one more example, I've got a right angle triangle. I've got a side of 6.3, a side of 4.7, and I want to calculate the missing hypotenuse side. So the first step is going to be write the formula. C squared equals A squared plus B squared. Next, we're going to substitute in the values from the question. So C squared is going to equal to 4.7 squared plus 6.3 squared. So calculating my C squared value, that's going to be C squared is equal to 61.78. Rooting both sides, so C is equal to the square root of 61.78. So using my calculator to calculate and write the final answer, C is going to equal to 7.86. And again, because I've got no units of measurement in my question, 7.86 units. So that's how we use Pythagoras theory to calculate the length of a hypotenuse of a right angle triangle.